Welcome to Backbreaking News, episode 136. Today we're going to be watching Backbreaking News, episode 14. So let's begin it.
To Backbreaking News 14, and today we'll be talking about Big Hero. Just kidding. We'll be talking about movies that deserve a sequel.
Let's see if I agree with this. I know it definitely deserves a sequel. Actually, a triple. The Sonic movie, the first two were really good.
From the beginning of this, Big Hero 6 needs a Big Hero 6 2 movie.
That would be cool, but I don't know how the plot would work. I think you did enough with that plot. It's a superhero movie, but it only worked when, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil, but it's something you should see, but, definitely.
Because I think it would be a great plot that his brother comes back to life after the first movie, and they already spoiled half of the movie.
Well, that's not happening. The whole point was Hero to get over his brother's death. Bringing him back would not make logical sense. So, if you haven't seen the movie, I kind of spoiled something there, but it's like a couple-year-old movie.
There. So, if you haven't watched it, the original one, I would suggest to watch it, because I've rewatched it and it still hits me in the heartstring. But anyway, Sonic needs another.
They did come up with a sequel years later, but I still agree with this. They need to make the third one soon.
Movie, and it would be a good time to make a sequel. Just after the success of the second movie, I would love to see a Hulk 2.
That's not happening. The first one didn't go so well, so I doubt that they would want to make a second one.
There's not been many movies based on the Hulk. And I talk about a sequel to the one in the 2003 movie. I would love to see a Pixel sequel, except
that would be good, but as I said, it didn't do well. But I think it could be better if the sequel could always be better than the original. So why not shoot for it?
This one will be 90s video games. You know. Let's make it a prequel series. Make it 3. Get from the 2000s. And then, if they want to, they can make...
They're not going to make more than one of those movies ever again. Even though I thought the first one was good, not many people did. So a third one is a bit crazy.
A Pixel 4 with...
No, that's just crazy.
A bunch of current games, and that's where the Pixel series ends. But another good movie I think needs a sequel to it is... No surprise here, but
what am I going to say?
But actually, I think this movie really needs a sequel. Pinocchio.
Pinocchio sequel just wouldn't make sense. The first one was made in the 40s. I don't think you could improve upon the first story.
There's so much more they could do there.
No, there isn't.
Another good movie that I think deserves a sequel is, surprisingly...
Let me cook this one.
I'm just doing this for dramatic effect.
Yeah, because I was thinking, because I never have a script.
I think that Tom and Jerry, the Tom and Jerry movie needs a sequel.
I mean, they had many Tom and Jerry movies, but the one that came out during this year, I think, doesn't really need a sequel, but if it did have one, I would be okay with it.
And I also think Spirit needs a sequel. Spirit Unleashed needs a sequel. Both of them were
Well,
really
it wouldn't
good
make
movies.
sense.
The other movie I think that needs to make a sequel and get a sequel is surprisingly this might shock some people, but I think that not Lady in the Tramp, but the Jungle Books needs a single.
It does. It was direct to DVD though, and that's the reason why I never seen it or heard of it.
Because I think there's a lot more they could do with that. Now, I would also really love to see a sequel of Song of the South and a little less.
Song of the South, that ain't happening for reasons, because people think it's kind of racist because it's not. It's made in the South, and it's not clear if it was post-slavery South or not. But considering that both look the same, basically, because if you don't know in history, the South, once slavery was filled, they still worked on the fields and stuff, People still worked on the fields to get money and were still paid very little. So in the way, slavery still kind of existed after that, but it was just that you got paid for it. So they both kind of look the same anyway, so it's not as controversial. You just have to know when the movie takes place, and then that would determine if there was slavery or not. But considering the conditions, but considering that no one was exactly hateful, I would assume that would be post-slavery for a couple of years.
Unracist tone?
Depending, yeah.
But I still think that Disney should post the original Song of the South, even though I haven't watched it.
Yeah, you should never delete history just because of the tensions from it. It's like WWE and Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit did something bad, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't mention his accomplishments. He did something really bad. He killed his family, but he had a brain disease, and if you look up the symptoms of CTE, you could definitely see how that affected him, how that could have affected him to doing that. CTE is very serious.
I think they should remake Song of the South and then make a sequel. But make it more appropriate to the age now.
That wouldn't last 1 second without getting cancelled.
Another good movie that deserves a sequel is the movie Coco. It was a good movie, and I think it deserves to have another.
I don't see how that could work because the original story was good and it ended in a good way.
But another great movie that I'm surprised doesn't have a sequel to it yet, Inside Out.
Oh, matter of fact, I think I predicted this before it even.
Movie. I can't suggest watching. I can't even suggest why you anything bad about it. It's sad. It gets your heart straight. But they should make a part 2.
They did. High five, buddy.
I would also love to see. I would love to see a sequel of Fantasia, even though I haven't watched the first one.
There is a sequel, Fantasia 2000.
Probably,
but it wasn't well received.
If they made one. I also want a sequel to My Spy.
Now that could work because there's so much more you could do with that.
And the Legend of the Seven Rings.
Shang-Chi might have a sequel. Who knows?
which is a new movie. Another movie that also deserves a sequel is Captain Marvel.
That
Even
also
though
happened.
with the plot, and you could also make a sequel to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs
No,
after a couple of years.
that would just not work unless it was direct to DVD, because the original story was like a long time ago, 1939. How could you add upon such a classic? You can't.
Because who wouldn't want to see that? And then another a sequel to Dumbo.
Now that would just be adorable, but what would the plot be?
Why not? Why not even a sequel? Oh, wait a minute. Why not even a sequel to the I'm trying to think of the name of the movie. A sequel to Bambi.
They have that direct to DVD. Didn't do well, so they never released it in theaters, or they never were planning to either. So
I know they made one, but I would like to see a current day one, an actual sequel that's not VSH. I'm not counting the VSH versions. I'm only counting ones that have been made public. Like if someone just told me about a sequel, it would have to have the word "to," and it would have to be released in an actual movie theater for it to count as a real sequel here.
okay, that makes no sense.
Also, I would really like to see a sequel to the live action Lion King. They can make the live action Lion King.
They kind of did that with Mufasa.
And also they could also do a sequel to the Little Mermaid and make the Little Mermaid too.
They also did that straight to DVD.
What else? I would also really like
buffering.
See a sequel of maybe a classic movie like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Nah,
I believe one was
did.
made about New Year's Eve, but I'm talking about another Christmas movie.
That would not work.
What about a sequel to what should you call that one? Oh, you know the one.
You know the one, of course.
You know the one that was released in Onward 2.
That would probably happen in the future, maybe. There's so much you could do with that plot.
And then you could also make a Pocahontas to that
straight to DVD.
Better than the original one, but
straight to DVD, so you know what they thought about that movie.
I would also love to see, who knows, maybe even there's a lot of good movies they could make a part 2. I would love to see another Disney movie. I would actually love to see A Real Lady in the Tramp live action 2 and another version.
Oh, my Christmas tree.
A version 2 that is actually released at the theater. I would also love to see a Mario movie and then have a sequel to it, but that probably ain't gonna happen. I also would love to see. That's about it. But now I would love But now,
So that's about it. I decided to try to put on one of my old pair of glasses that you may or may not remember if you've been here for a very long time. This is Cookie King Carl. Goodbye.